Oh, that's not worked at all. I've done the wrong thing. I see. I knew at one point it wouldn't work. Spoilers for seeing that to me. Well, hello, hello, hello. Oh, the lighting is all over the place. Let me put the actual big light on. There we go. Hello, 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 hello. I pressed the wrong button coming in, but my name is Fiona, in case you haven't noticed. I always have this problem at the start of streams anyway. She, her pronouns, and I run What Am I Rolling, which is a twice-monthly RPG one-shot podcast where we look at all the different RPG systems. I'm also a professional gamemaster, improviser, voiceover person, yada yada yada, all the good stuff. And I run these sort of streams, these Too Long Didn't Read tabletop RPGs, where we go through an RPG on my big list of RPGs that I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting, I want to play, or something I have played in the past, and see what we like about it, see if there's anything we change, and take basically inspirations, because not one RPG is necessarily a one size fits all. Not one RPG fits all. And just as I start, I can hear a leaf blower in the background, so wonderful. Totally professional, this stream. I hope you're doing well. This has been a very good day for me. I've done 3 of these streams. This is the final one. So in the first stream we looked at Spire and Heart, the Rowan, Rook and Descartes sort of dual sort of RPG systems, which went really well, although some bad pronunciations. And then we looked at Dune, the quick start of the RPG. It's been a bit of a quick start day, and this one is no different. So yeah, I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this, whether live or on the VOD. I appreciate you so much for being here. But yes, let's take a look at Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, described as a slice-of-life tabletop RPG about a heartless witch, a peaceful home, and all the folks have made their... well, a peaceful house, sorry, and all the folks have made their home inside. This is an absolutely cracking RPG. I can say we've played it on Where. There's lots of people who are playing it online. I can recommend Jeff Stormer's run-through of the Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. If you look it out, basically they did a couple of promotional one-shots to get people in the mood for when Yazeba came out, because it was a very successful Indiegogo campaign to get it funded, essentially. So all the good stuff there, and it's very different. It's published by Possum Creek Games, so if you've played Wander Home, if you've played Sleepaway, any of those sort of like narrative role-playing games, or are familiar with J Dragon's work, then you'll get the sense of what this game is, because it's very different. I'm going to say this right up front. It's very different from a normal tabletop RPG, which is very fascinating, and there's some really cool elements in it as well. The one thing I want to put right at the top of this is that we're going to look at the Ash Can edition, which is still available if you go to the Possum Creek Games itch, and I'll put a link to it at the end when we talk about it, because I do have a PDF of the full I think it's 400 pages in total PDF, and obviously the pre-order for the this big sort of softcover. We're going to look at it when we look at the Indiegogo campaign, just to give an idea of it. But on the second page it does say, like, please do not reproduce this without express permission, and technically I do not have permission to do any of these streams, really. And rather than as well, because with that, the big core book as well as fleshing out certain characters and stuff, there's not much difference between the sort of main core mechanics and how the game works. So I think the Ash Can version is pretty simple for this to get a flavour as well, and it's freely available, and I'd highly recommend checking it out before maybe committing to getting the big book. But we're going to have a look at it anyway. But I hope you're doing well. Otherwise, it's a very lovely, bright August evening is what I meant to say. Autumn evening. Oh, I'm wishing the ring away. But let's go to possumcreekgames.com and look at the actual entry, the way you can get it. First of all, what you'll see throughout is little snippets of the artwork. We can go to the pre-order thing in a second, but how gorgeous is this artwork? So bright, so evocative, very much almost feel like Studio Ghibli in places, I'd say, as well, and takes those inspirations from it as well. So let me enhance it a little bit so we can... oh, that's the wrong one. I've enhanced my chat. There's no point in doing that, is there? So, Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. Oh, there's no point in doing that, I've realised, because my big head's in the way. 1 second, there we go. So, whilst it's hard to say hard to say whether there's any one particular day that's best for running away from home, if forced to choose, one would probably say the 15th of September would be as good a day as any. But on the other hand, to the mud-soaked and waterlogged girl stumbling through the woods, the 15th didn't particularly feel good for anything whatsoever. After all, it was her birthday, and nothing good ever happened on it before. In the damp, In the rainy, damp woods full of rainy, damp thoughts, the girl wove past a broken wooden gate in an old stone wall without even taking notice of either. She did notice the house beyond them, though, and might have hesitated for a moment if not for a sudden peal of thunder. A little bell chimed as she stepped inside, boots stomping against the small welcome mat, ignoring all the signs on the front door except for the words Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. Welcome to Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, a slice-of-life tabletop RPG about a heartless witch, a peaceful house, and all the folks who have made their home inside. Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast is a very special game. It uses preset characters, quick play chapters, and an adaptable ruleset unlike anything else out there. It takes less than half an hour to learn how to play and get started, but with new chapters and secrets to unfold, folks can stick with the game for years and years. And the full release of Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast is coming to Indiegogo to March 2022. So yes, the Indiegogo campaign, incredibly successful. It was at the time when tabletop RPGs were in a bit of a quandary, because obviously Kickstarter had started talking about cryptocurrency and NFTs and all the bad stuff that we don't really approve of in being creatives. So it was one of the most successful Indiegogo campaigns ever. On top of that, if you can see here some of the artwork, because again I will say the Ashcan version doesn't have any art in it whatsoever, so you can get a sense of what kind of the characters are. So here's the list of sort of main characters that you can get to choose to play, like as your sort of primary character as you're playing. We have the Moon Prince, Amelie, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Again, it'll come back to me once we look at it. Gertrude, Hey Kid, Paris, Sal, and Yazeba. So a nice, cool mix of characters there, and some of this beautiful artwork as well. I hope with the full book, I'm sure it is in the PDF as well. That big PDF that they've got some proper, not proper. Sorry, that's not right. Artistic, behind the scenes, work in progress stuff, because some absolutely gorgeous art as well. And here's some of the team that I've focused on it. Again, quite a lot of them are Possum Creek alumni or work with them. And some absolutely cracking artwork as well, and as we'll sort of see when I go to the other things. A lot of people worked on this as well, which makes it incredible. And some press and the play kit, etc. So this is where you can get the Ashcan. Should you look at it? Let's look at the pre-order. So this is what it looks like getting this is the physical book there. Look at that. Yeah, about 500. Oh, it's off the screen a little bit. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Yeah. So this is it. It's 500 pages with a gorgeous. So this is when you get the hardcover and as well as a digital. And sorry, there's a car alarm also now going off outside. Beautiful. There's some other additional things you can get with the pre-orders as well. Some physical, enamel pins, stickers, all the good stuff should you wish to do that, and other Possum Creek games as well. One thing I'd say, let's look at the box set, the digital bundle. So there's almost sort of free books essentially. You get the core book, you can get tokens, you can get coins, etc. And all of this works towards the main game mechanics. There's sort of 4 different types of main game mechanics depending on the chapter you choose to play, as well as a concierge ledger to keep notes of where everything is happening, and all these sort of extra bits and pieces there. So if you wanted the full version, that's what you can get. But what I would say is definitely check out the Ashcan. Then I'd get a digital version of the PDF, because the reason I'm sort of harping on about the digital content is because this is the first time I've ever seen an RPG that comes with one more multiverse. My head's in the way as usual, and I'm clicking on the wrong one. No, there we go. So one more multiverse is basically like a virtual tabletop. I'll see if I can go into the actual thing, play for free. So yeah, so you can use it. It's a bit like I know alchemy VTT has sort of been a bigger thing now, but One More Multiverse, again, it's that same thing where it's almost got this sort of pixel art type thing where you can play your adventure, but it's also quite immersive. It's also incredibly beautiful. It's just a different way to role play, so you can make your own art, etc., and use the sort of the stock sort of images as well whilst you're doing. So here's some examples of levels that you can get as well. So One More Multiverse paired with Possum Creek Games to create Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is really cool. Again, I've forgotten my login, so I'll have to find out. But you can see there, look, all the sort of little 8-bit characters that you can play and unlock, and the different the B&B, and more importantly, it's a way to save almost like the legacy thing. So you've got some examples here of it, like a tactile play in the digital space. So this is what I was going to mention, is that Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast is, as well as it being sort of used as a one-shot, it can be used for longer campaigns because you can replay certain chapters, certain episodes, so to speak, and if you do so, or if you unlock certain goals or certain tracks, for example, you get items that, like almost like unlockables. So say, for example, you could have a shelf somewhere and you find an artifact, and you can put that artifact on the shelf and keep going until you have so many artifacts that you can unlock a later chapter. So this legacy element in an RPG, I've not really heard of it before, certainly in a tabletop RPG. I know there are games like Pandemic Legacy, Werewolf Legacy as well, Betrayal on House on the Hill Legacy, where you come back and your consequences of your game has an impact on future games, which I absolutely love. I also find it quite terrifying for board games, but there's something juicy about it for tabletop role-playing games. So that's just something I just wanted to mention there, so we can go into it in a little bit more detail. Look at all this artwork. Look at all these residents we can have playing in the system. Oh, the rabbits from the garden. Very cool. Very cool, and very, very evocative as well. And yeah, if you get the online version, there's 3 guests and 2 chapters are only found in the online game. I'll be honest, I've not actually played it with the online version at all. All I've done is read from the ash can, and we did a one-shot of it on What Am I Rolling? So, and that worked really, really well, but I don't know how different it would be to play it using one more multiverse. It's something that I'd have to explore as well. Again, whilst I'm a big fan of this sort of thing, I know there's a little bit of pressure on the GM to be like tech support and tech help as well. So maybe having everyone go through a session 0 and also a tech session, just to make sure they get the characters and make sure like they understand what's going on, especially, if you're maybe streaming it as a live game, because it could be, I think, because there is definitely in the full rulebook, it talks about how do you present this for online play, which I think is really, really cool, because a lot of times people do want to see these, like, how do you play these games and stuff, so it just has this element of being definitely thinking of that entertainment in mind as well. So yeah, there you go. I would check that out. Again, I'm not going to show you because I don't want to spoil too much, but I definitely would get the Ashcan version and then maybe go into getting the digital version, pre-ordering it if you wish to. But with all that out of the way, I should show you where the Ashcan is. It's at possumcreekgames.itch.io/Yazeba-Ashcan, and yep. So here we got in the move my face. So it's all the rules you need to play for Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. It has 5 pre-generated, preset characters for us to play, the 5 residents. So Gertrude, Sal, Haykid, Parrish, and Amalie. The Moon Prince and Yazeba are not in this Ashcan. There are 6 guests for additional characters. So yeah, we could bring in other characters. That's a great sort of staple of Possum Creek games, is that this idea of pillars or idea of other characters that you can jump to and play them in a scene as well. There are 8 chapters to play as well. That's actually quite a lot to get to grips with the game, and there's basically there's 2 chapters focus on one set of game mechanics. There's 4 in total, and so each, depending on the tone or the mood of the chapter, indicates what the game mechanic is that you're using it for. And there's some locked materials for trying out some special mechanics, including 5 more guests and 4 more chapters, so you actually get quite a lot for it. It's roughly about 79 pages, I will say, and like I said, I've not experienced anything like it before. And as you can see, this is basically what it's like. I appreciate the art. First of all, you can't see it because I'm just pointing to it randomly off the screen. So it gives you almost like a quick preview of what it looks like, except obviously they've got some artwork. They're just hiding up stuff, so you'd have to download the Ashcan to see what it is. But yeah, so that's basically, we're going to look at the Ashcan, which doesn't have any artwork, any of the font, and maybe has a few things that aren't updated, but the mechanics stay the same. Great. With all that out of the way, I'm going to hide Chrome, and I'm going to go to Acrobat Reader. So Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, Ashcan release. So this is over 2 years old, created by J Dragon and M Velasak, even. Written by Mercedes Acosta, J Dragon, Lilo Harris, and M Veselak. Yeah, yes, you can see what I'm doing. Then we have the intro, which I've already read out. Let's carry on the intro from there. So, ignoring all the signs on the front door, except for the words bed and breakfast. The house had a cheery little lobby, which looked more or less like a living room with a big polished desk plopped down against the far wall. A tired-looking young man, his name tag read Sal, in brackets, night porter, woke abruptly from a snooze behind it and squinted at her. "Ah, what? How did you get in here? Who are you?" The girl fidgeted, suddenly nervous. "I opened the door. My name is, Gertrude," she said, and over the course of the sentence, it became true. "What do you want?" said Sal, surreptitiously closing a pocket-sized notebook that was laying out, which Gertrude couldn't help but notice was crammed with what looked like song lyrics. Well, the sign said this is a B&B, right? So I was thinking that maybe I could stay for a couple of nights. I have some money here with me." Gertrude shuffled through her pockets trying to find her wallet. Oh no, where is it?" "No vacancies. Sorry, kid." Sal tapped on the sign which Gertrude swore wasn't there a moment ago. Gertrude's eyes opened wide as she felt something in her heart snap. "Are you sure? Is there anything I can do? I don't know. Sal rolled his eyes and leant back in his spinny chair, getting ready to go back to sleep. "Go home, kid." Gertrude stiffened, and Sal noticed the overburdened backpack and the mud-stained jeans. Okay. I might be able to find somewhere for you. I'll need to check with the concierge in the morning, and the concierge might need to check in with Yazeba, and Yazeba might say no, but we'll get you out of the cold at the very least. There's some spare linens and a comforter in the laundry room." Gertrude unclenched her fists for the first time in days. "Oh, thank you so much." She paused for a moment. "Who's Yazeba?" Sal smiled and grabbed one of the seemingly endless series of keys off the back wall. "You got a lot to learn, kid, but it's late, and I'm sure someone will explain everything to you in the morning." And that is the story of how Gertrude came to live atop the dryer in the laundry room at Yazeba's bed and breakfast. So, the house. Once upon a time, the world was cruel, and there was a witch who knew it well. And so she sold her heart away and built a house in the woods where the world could never find her. At first, she would let no one into her fortress, but in the long march of days, a strange thing happened. In her own cold and spiteful way, the witch made a friend, and then another, and then several more until her house was teeming with colourful faces and complicated lives. The house would come to be known as Yazeba's bed and breakfast, and it would last for a very long time. On the front door of Yazeba's bed and breakfast, there is a sign which reads, "No soliciting, trespassing, romancing, snooping, snitching, or unnecessary small talk welcome. Yazeba reserves her temper for those she catches violating these rules." Under that sign is a second, smaller sign which reads, "Room for everyone." It is always a September 15th inside the bed and breakfast, even if it's summer, spring, or winter outside. September 15th is Yazeba's favourite day of the year. Yazeba's bed and breakfast is, in many ways, at many times, but it is most frequently near the cosy village of Sleepytown, somewhere on the east coast. No one's really sure what year it is, and no one's bothered to check because they don't have cell phones. Every room is always next to every other room. No matter what they've said in the past about the layout of the bed and breakfast, the floor plan is always convenient to the matter at hand. The bed and breakfast is both quaint and sprawling, with enough rooms that it can always accommodate any number of guests, except Gertrude. It is a real sort of Spirited Away vibe to it, isn't it? Alright, so here are the main residents. So, and a quick description about them. So we have Gertrude, a teenage girl who ran away from home and, at the moment, sleeps atop the dryer in the laundry room. She is kind and insecure, quiet and capable beyond expectations. Then we've got Sal, a weary young adult who once studied to be Yazeba's apprentice before leaving magic behind. He now works as the night porter, but hopes to someday become a rock star, although it's not clear how he's going to get there. And then Hey Kid. Abandoned on the front door as a baby, they grew up amidst the chaos of the bed and breakfast. They are now a delightfully rambunctious devil child who causes disaster wherever they go. Parish. Once a gallant knight cursed by a wicked wizard to take the form of a frog, he's now the bed and breakfast's head and only chef, cook, but he's still a courageous hero at heart. Amelie. A robotic maid acquired by the bed and breakfast. They are a meticulous housekeeper constantly struggling and failing to keep the bed and breakfast tidy. They're still passing out who they're supposed to be. And then we have the two that are not included in this quick start, and they're sort of faded out a little bit. So Yazeba is the owner of the bed and breakfast, a cold and heartless witch with no patience for mirth, or what is that word? She-cancery? I'm gonna have to look up what that means. Wow. She's far too busy with witchy business to show up here, although that may someday change. And then the Moon Prince. Far away in the palaces of the moon, a young prince stares out of their window and dreams of other worlds. They have never been to Earth or to the bed and breakfast, although that may someday change. And then we have assorted guests. There are many guests at Yazeba's bed and breakfast, from the helpful rabbits in the garden who wear little outfits to the nefarious villain Rag and Bones. We can meet them later. Yazeba's bed and breakfast is many things. It is a bed and breakfast, of course, but it's also this book right here. And this book is a book, of course, but it's also a role-playing game. The sort of game we can play with our friends around the table or on a call whilst hanging out, and even very, very slowly by mail. I definitely would not recommend doing this by mail. Like the bed and breakfast itself, this book can seem sprawling at first, but it will become cozy once we've taken a little tour. We don't need to memorise the entire layout to start playing. In fact, many parts of Yazeba's bed and breakfast will be off limits at first. We can explore the B&B's many secrets after we've settled in. If you are the concierge, i.e. the caretaker of this book, you need only to acquaint yourselves with the cast and with the flow of play as outlined here, to be able to confidently guide your friends into the B&B for the first time. To start playing a game of Yazeba's bed and breakfast, we'll pick a chapter and we'll read its rules. Those rules will tell us what supplies we need, the emotional tone of the chapter, and how we go about entering it. Each chapter stars specific characters. They'll usually be the long-term residents of the bed and breakfast, so those 5 that were sort of mentioned at the beginning. But sometimes a chapter will also call for one of the guests. We need someone to play each character named by the chapter, and once those roles are filled, everyone else can choose any unlocked character. You can even play multiple guests at the same time, if you like. When we play, we'll make decisions for our characters, represent them and their desires, and explore how they behave in a chapter. We can speak as them, if we'd like to, and describe what they do. Our characters do bingos and whoopsies to show off their strengths and indulge in their weaknesses. So here we go. So this is how we define sort of the difference between residents and characters. So residents are always around. Most of the residents have jobs at the bed and breakfast, although a couple of them seem to be mostly just be hanging out, and not everyone with a job is a resident. Yazeba's bed and breakfast is first and foremost a story about the residents' lives, their triumphs and their tribulations, and the way they grow alongside each other. Whenever we play, it's likely that we'll swap between residents from chapter to chapter. We shouldn't worry about playing a resident precisely the same way another player did. Everyone will bring out the different facets of a resident, and all of them are equally authentic. So this is the thing, between chapters you can switch around who you're playing. That's one thing I love about Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. You could play it with completely different people. Presumably the person playing the concierge, who has to make the notes of what's happening, could be the same person, or at least you'd pass on the notes and what you mean to the person who's playing the concierge, which is basically an additional role. It's very much a GM-less game, I'd say, on this front as well. But I love that idea. Like, you could be like, one time you might be like, I'm going to play Parish, the chef, the cook of the bed and breakfast, and the next time you're like, oh, actually, I'd like to play Gertrude in this chapter. And of course, some of the residents might not feature in a particular chapter. Some of them actually say, oh, this character cannot be in this chapter. So maybe then you'd have to switch to somebody else as well. What's up indeed, Cuspy Matthew? I hope you're well today. Let's see. It's a lot of fun to share residence and mix up characters as we play. When we give a character to someone else, it gives that character a chance to grow in new ways, and when they return to you, they will learn so much. When we arrive at Yazeba's bed and breakfast, there are 6 residents living there, including Gertrude, who has just started sleeping in the laundry room. But it's possible that there are other characters out there looking for somewhere to call home. Guests. So guests also stay at the bed and breakfast, but they don't spend as much time at the centre of it. Guests support the business, participate in the same sort of events, and grow all the same. They just got other things going on in their lives and another home somewhere else, even if somewhere else means beneath the garden. They'll come and go as we play. If you want to play a guest, you can play one at a time or an entire crowd at once. To play more than one guest, take all their sheets and give them a small amount of your focus, taking care not to overshadow the other players. If the chapter hands out resources like chaos coins or tokens, you can track them separately for each guest, or have them all share, whichever seems like most fun. You can even split a guest amongst multiple players if you like. Some guests are an entire crowd by themselves. Then finally, the concierge. If you are the owner of this copy of Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, you are the concierge. In addition to being a player, just like everyone else, you're also responsible for keeping track of all the papers, showing new players their way around, describing the ins and outs of the world, and making sure that the bed and breakfast is somewhat neat and tidy. As concierge, you are the game's guide. Give the rules a read through so you can explain how the bed and breakfast works to your fellow players. If anyone needs help picking a character sheet or a chapter, you are the best person to give them advice. As the concierge, you're also the narrator. You will read or delegate reading snippets of the narration that precedes every chapter, and you'll fill in the descriptions and events whenever the other players seem unsure. Finally, as the concierge, you are the bookkeeper. You'll supervise us when we place stickers to make sure they end up in the right spaces. Or places even, and when we're done for the day, you hold on to all the sheets and cards and tokens and coins for the next time. So yeah, exactly, so concierge or game facilitator stuff. Again, I love that you're called the concierge. That's quite cool, gets very thematic. And yeah, so those 3 sort of rules you have: you're the game's guide, you're the narrator, and you're the bookkeeper as well. But that's it, that's all in addition to you being a player, which I appreciate could seem like really scary, because you're like, oh, what are the rules and stuff like that. But actually they're very, very straightforward, and you don't have, it's very much, like I said, this is more of a very narrative game with you and the players. So maybe your other, that game guide thing comes into effect, where you can prompt the other players to do something or ask them out of character as well. Character sheets. Every character at the B&B who is being played is represented by a character sheet, which quickly tells you about them and suggests some actions that they may take in any given chapter. What's written on a character sheet is not everything there is to know about them, and nothing there is immutable. Everyone has days and situations where they believe they behave surprisingly, and everyone grows and changes. Every character has a name and some pronouns. We also find the little illustrations of our characters throughout the book. Again, appreciate this is the Ashcan, so there's no illustrations in it. If we want to play the characters with a different name or pronouns, we can simply do that. We can also imagine our characters looking any way we choose to. The illustrations are just there for inspiration. And then it sort of goes into most characters will have quick facts about them to introduce them, but there's more, but not in this Ashcan. Fair enough. Bingos and whoopsies. Everyone has whoopsies, moments where they're not at their best. A whoopsie is a bad habit, an old fault, or something that sets a character back on their path. Whoopsies often cause problems, or at the very least make things messier and more tangled for everyone else. On the rare occasion when whoopsies solve problems, they solve them in the wrong way. Whoopsies are personal, and one character's whoopsie might be another character's strength. Everyone has bingos. You know, the moments where they can get to fully assert who they are. Whenever you get a chance to do a bingo, it means you'll be able to demonstrate a character's ability to play their strengths, pull off something that no one else can, or use their skills to solve a problem. Or at least make the situation a bit more under control. When a bingo causes a problem, it's the right problem to have. Bingos are personal, and one character's bingo is another character's failing. So yeah, these are like strengths and weaknesses that you can play into, and again, you'll see I feel like there's not, unless the chapter says so, there's not really a mechanical benefit. It's a way to give prompts, similar to how the outside belonging games or Dream Askew games sort of do. They have that sort of system where you go, I take a token, I give a token, that sort of thing. Or it tells you like some sort of moves you can have, like vulnerable moves, stronger moves, weak moves, all that sort of thing. It's old lateral moves, even that's the other one I know. Similar thing, but there's no tokens per se. But it can help you. Like if you do something in a chapter, it might be able to give someone else an advantage, or give someone a different disadvantage, depending on if you do bingos and whoopsies. When we look over someone's character sheet, we can find their bingos and whoopsies listed there. Sometimes chapters, journeys, or whatever else we have laying around give us new bingos and whoopsies. If you can find it and it feels right, you can use it. So yeah, some chapters will come with like overarching bingos and whoopsies to do, so like an extra additional action you can do, which is pretty cool. So doing a bingo or whoopsie will usually cause something to happen that moves the story forward, as defined by the rules for each chapter. Journeys. Every resident and almost every guest has a journey which outlines how the character can grow and change over time. Every character's journey is different, and they range from working on a new song to learning powerful magic or getting out of bed each morning. Think of a journey as the character's direction, what they're struggling to get done, what they're working on long term, and where they hope to get someday. So let's say if we're about to play a game, how do we go about picking chapters? We're going to play through one or more so every time we come to play Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, we're going to play through one or more chapters and then the housekeeping afterwards. Most chapters should take about 60 to 90 minutes of play, which is not that long at all, really, when you think about it, but it's true. It's almost like a long form improv show in a way, so you wouldn't want to get any longer than 90 minutes. So yes, chapters can be played or even replayed in any order. The longest chapters can be found in the back of the book. Each chapter tells a standalone story, so almost like an episode in a TV show, whilst also fitting the greater tapestry of the Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. It's totally okay for new players to hop in just for one chapter, or for someone who usually plays to miss a few chapters because they're busy or not in the mood to play. There are many chapters inside this book, although many of them are locked at the beginning. There are more chapters elsewhere in the world, in other books, on the World Wide Web, or even hidden away between these very pages. So I do like this thing. Again, I don't know if there is a third-party license for Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast yet, but the idea that you could create your own kind of chapter, I think it would be very, very straightforward. Again, what I'll do, I'll show an example of what the chapter is. Probably the first chapter. I think that's the one that most people are familiar with because it's been played on Jeff Stormer's sort of promotional ones. So we can do that there. But yeah, I love that idea. It encourages you to do your own and share it with other people. If we find a chapter and it's not locked, we can play it. There's still a lot of chapters to choose from. If you want to narrow it down, it's helpful to look at a list and pick a chapter based on the name we found most exciting or fits our mood. If we're playing in person, another useful way to narrow down the chapters that we might play is to look at what physical materials we have available. If we have a deck of cards, we can play an eerie chapter, and if we don't, we can't. We need a bunch of coins for chapters in a frantic mood, some kind of tokens and scrap paper for relaxed and pensive moves as well. So yes, so there are 4 different moves: eerie, frantic, relaxed, and pensive, and each of them requires some sort of mechanic, some sort of help in some way. So like playing cards for eerie, coins for frantic, tokens for relaxed, and scrap paper for pensive moves. So each chapter calls for specific residents. Those residents form the emotional through line of the chapter. As long as every resident is named by the chapter is represented, everyone can play whoever they wish. The chapter will give a suggestion about who might be a good fit, but that's it. It's just a suggestion. Some chapters will mention guest stars, guests who must show up in the chapter no matter what. Extremely rarely, a chapter will mention other limitations such as how many people may play or other specific roles unique to that chapter. Every chapter opens with several paragraphs of prose and sets the tone and opens the chapter. The concierge reads out these characters allowed to start play for the chapter. Anyone playing the characters mentioned can read their characters' lines out loud if they like. The mechanical parts of each chapter are divided into sections indicated with a subheader. These sections will tell us what special rules are in play for the chapters, what extra bingos and whoopsies we might have, and how the chapter inevitably ends. They'll also have plenty of other information besides: tracks, checklists, outfit options, menus, all sorts of other materials that can be found in a section. We should read through all the sections as a group before we start playing, at least enough to get the gist of what's going on in the chapter. If a section is addressed to a specific character, only that character's player has to read the section. Good to know. So here's some of the examples of sections we can see in a chapter. So tracks. These can take all sorts of forms. They can be straight or round or disguised as something else, but they'll always have a number of segments waiting to be marked. The section in which the track appears will explain when to fill the segments and what to do when it fills it all the way. Lists. Lists are checklists of items, activities, people, or things that can be found in various sections throughout the bed and breakfast. The rules will tell us what to do with them or what happens when we engage with them, but frequently we'll be checking them off or crossing them out or adjusting the list themselves. And then what happens is that there is, in the actual book as well, I'd say it is this Hey Kids Advice Corner, this little chapter here. It definitely is an example of talking about the safety stuff and giving you advice as players, and it's written as if Hey Kid, that sort of the sort of devil child in quotation marks character that grew up in the bed and breakfast, the sort of chaotic person, is writing it. We won't go over it too much because again, I don't want to spoil it too much, because Hey Kid is a real personality in the bed and breakfast, and they in the full book, it is actually beautifully cut. It's almost as if they've drawn it and written about it as if they're writing. You know, it's done as an image per se, a text readable image rather than this. So it's good to know. So we'll just move on from there. But it's just basically giving advice about, like, here are the rules. You can ignore them if it makes you happy. Keeping each of us safe. You know, the idea of safety and stuff. So it's giving alt text here, but I've actually seen this. So the rest of the sign has been ripped off or covered up. All the other pages in the spread are covered by Hey Kids drawings. So very good. About takesy backsies. If you have an idea and then realise later that you don't like it, you can always do takesy backsies. If someone else says something you don't like, you can ask them to do takesy backsies also. And then, yeah, idea about safety tools as well. I'll be honest, I don't know about I guess it's because obviously it wants to present it in such a way that people find it friendly and get into be immersive about it. But I do think safety tools, you do need to have it somewhere in a clear voice so you don't mistake its tone. Because I'm not saying that this game, what's the word? Because I think always when we talk about safety tools, you know, lines and veils, script changes, X card, all that sort of thing, we always think about, oh, you know, those horror games and violence and stuff like that. And that's not true at all. I think every game should have these tools as well, just in case something comes up that you're not expecting. It's about keeping the players safe, no matter what the subject matter is. But I do feel for this particular RPG, I think it shouldn't be in the voice of a character. It should be made very clear, just as I've read out those previous things about what the chapter is, what, you know, setting it up. I think just having anything about safety tools, it needs to be very clear, because sometimes people can miss it, you know, all the good stuff. All right, we're going on to the housekeeping. So this is the housekeeping phase. Once you've played the chapter, what do you do with, you know, with the information you've got here? So journeys. Almost everyone has a journey, from little kids to ancient witches. Journeys represent the path that the character is going down, their goal, and where they hope to reach someday. A journey can be about a dramatic self-reflection, an exciting project, or just little moments that string each other together for growth. Most journeys have a track or list that you'd like to encounter in a chapter. After a chapter, if your journey has a track, take any leftover tokens, chaos coins, or omen cards. Interesting, I don't know what an omen card is. And put them in, filling one segment for each spent. During or after a chapter, if you realise you've accomplished or acquired one of the items in a journey list, check it off. If your journey doesn't have a track, you can spend leftover on a track of the appendix of assorted tracks. So those ones are sort of more general. I think they're about the B&B itself. A journey will tell you what to do once you've completed it. This might involve some sort of gift to the bed and breakfast, new bingos or whoopsies for the character, or just a little bit of an emotional moment the next time they're played. It will then tell you how to replace the journey. Then, when that happens, just find the relevant journey-shaped sticker and paste it into the character sheet right over the old journey. So this is the other thing as well. In the full book, the core book, there is a bunch of stickers. Again, that comes with that legacy thing. So not only are you sticking like items and stuff into like a location, perhaps, but over your character sheet as well, changing it and manipulating it. And I absolutely love that. If you don't have the right sticker down, maybe we don't own it or we've lost it somehow, we can go to the list of journeys starting on whatever the page is, and copy down the information, taking it over the old journey on the sheet. Yes, so you don't ever have to feel like, oh, but this is my only chance. I don't want to hide. I don't want to use my one last sticker for it. Again, it doesn't matter. It's just a nice thing to have. Long-term developments. So shelves. A shelf is an empty space that can hold mementos we receive from our adventures. Anytime we fill up a row of a shelf with mementos, we follow the directions associated with it, often unlocking new characters to play, new characters and chapters to play. Some shelves belong to a character otherwise connected to them, and filling out a shelf might change that character's sheet. Other shelves located in the common spaces of the bed and breakfast and question mark might it doesn't say whatever. Oh wait. Other shelves are located in the common spaces of the bed and breakfast and might unlock new guests, chapters, or even other shelves. In addition to being on the walls of the bed and breakfast, you can find 2 shelves in this document. There you go. Mementos. Mementos are little trophies and reminders from our adventures together. They can look like anything: a jar of fireflies, a raven's feather, or even a carrot. Mementos are represented by small stickers you can put in the bed and breakfast rulebook or the accompanying ledger if you have one. The most common ways to acquire mementos are by playing chapters or completing a character's journey. Whenever a chapter comes to a close, we'll check to see if we've earned anything from the chapter or our journeys. Then we'll pop it onto a shelf, although some journeys might snatch them up instead. So yeah, it's just a bit of conversation once you're doing the housekeeping between your players and yourselves. Circles and squares. Common mementos are printed on square stickers and can only fill up square nooks, whilst rare mementos are printed on circular stickers and can only fill up circular nooks. Only the last few chapters, and the least common guests, are unlocked with circular mementos. Make sure the shape of the memento matches the shape of the nook. There might be other stranger mementos which shapes the sticker science has shapes that. There may be other stranger mementos that shapes that sticker science has not yet discovered. If you find one, use your best judgment on how to document it. So I wonder, again, in the long future of this game, because I can see this game being played and maybe having an expansion at some point. I know I'm saying this already when the actual core book is not out for print yet, but easily, like, you can expand the I was going to say Airbnb, Yazeba's bed and breakfast, with different kinds of maybe hidden rooms, maybe alternative floor plans, for example. And yeah, every chapter then comes with more stickers of some sort, which would be really, really cool. Clutter. Because we can replay our favourite chapters as many times as we like, eventually our supply of a memento might run out. Perhaps the rabbits who live in the garden and wear little outfits have been very busy and you've run out of carrots. If this happens, we can either substitute another square memento we think the rabbits might have given us, or we can hand draw a little carrot onto the nook instead. I don't know about that. I'm not a big fan of drawing into books, I'll be honest, but I don't know. Stickers I'm alright with, but yeah, otherwise, who knows, yeah? If we play for a very long time, we eventually run out of nooks to put mementos in. In that case, we would devise our own shelves with new nooks, or simply decorate the pages of this book. Unlocking new ways to play. When we start playing Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, much of it will be off limits. Locked materials. Whenever a character, chapter, or shelf is locked, it will have one or more lock tags next to its name or title. If something is locked, we're not ready to play with it yet, and we should ignore it until we find some way to unlock it. We can peek at parts of the book that are locked if we like, or we can try and keep them as a surprise. So this is where it comes from, that sort of legacy element. It almost feels like video gaming as well, like there's extra DLC that we've downloaded but we've yet to be high enough level for it. Anything that doesn't have a lock next to its name or title is available to be played from the beginning. Unlocking things. The most common way to unlock new play materials is by filling up shelves with mementos, but some characters and chapters might be only unlocked under special circumstances. When the game tells us to unlock something, we select a key sticker and place it over the lock symbol. If all the lock symbols next to something's name or title has been covered with a key sticker, then it is available to play. Anything marked with enough key stickers is unlocked and available to play with, just as if it had no lock symbol. Now I appreciate I've talked about a lot about like this legacy element, and the Ashcan version does not have that yet, but that's okay. I think it's just setting up to why this game is different. Otherwise, this document would literally be, I think, less than 10 pages long. So I like this idea of the sticker stuff. It actually gets me quite excited to think about it and how I would play it and stuff. And certainly having a digital version with like the VTT of the 1-1 multiverse, I think that works really, really well. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I will say you don't need it if you're doing a one-shot of this game, which is probably why it's good to get the Ash can and look for it as well. So residents, we've already spoke about the residents. It's fine. And here's the character sheets that we've got. So let's look at Gertrude. Gertrude's character sheet. Okay. So here we've got at the top we've got Gertrude, a little summary line. So mass teenage runaway who uses she/her pronouns, and a little bit of advice about like if you want to, if you're not sure what to play, it's like you should pick Gertrude if the world is big and full of secrets, and when you navigate tangled feelings, you feel nervous or unsure. So I think that's quite a nice little one-liner to be like, here's why you should play this character, or if you feel like about this character, then that's all good. And then we have the bingos and whoopsies. So this is ways that sort of character traits essentially. So ones that play to a strength include like keep a secret that I should keep, show off a cool skill that people didn't know I had, give someone a very genuinely sweet compliment, and make myself useful, get excited about something new. And a whoopsie is keep a secret that I shouldn't keep, reject the help of someone else, mess up something I thought I could handle, assume the worst of what's going on and freak out. Facts about me, add to them or cross them out when they're no longer true. So stuff like I get scared very often, I live on top of the dryer in the laundry room. One of the earlier chapters sort of makes it so that you get your own room, so you don't always have to live at the top of the dryer in the laundry room. I feel terribly insecure about my gender and appearance, so I wear a mask to hide my face. I'm confident that Yazeba doesn't like me, etc. Finding my place. So Gertrude feels very uncomfortable in this strange, loud bed and breakfast, but perhaps one day she can make a home here. Maybe. And this is the journey. So finding my place is Gertrude's journey, right? So I got a job at the B&B. I got a real room, its number, and I'm writing that down. I made a close friend. I made another close friend. I made a third close friend. Yazeba complimented me, and she said, check these off when they happen. It's okay if they don't last forever. When I've checked them all off, I replace the journey with the witching path, if you can find it. And that's the character sheet. It's all on one page, which is really cool. But it's different depending on which the character you pick. So let's look at Sol. Sol is an aspiring musician who uses he, him pronouns. Pick him if you want to seize the microphone, someone needs good advice, or a ride home. His bingos include speak from the heart and light up the world, take a moment to ponder, commit to doing the hard work. Whoopsies, though, include failing to follow through, getting caught up in my own drama, hide behind my own confidence. And then answers to the questions that the Rolling Bones magazine will probably ask. So that's different to the facts about me thing. So yeah, a little bit different, but I love that. Right now, I'm the night porter at the bread and breakfast. I'm not 100% certain what that means, but it mostly involves kicking it back behind the front desk, not even necessarily at night. I did used to be a witch's apprentice. I don't really want to talk about that though. What's this one we've got scratched out here? I like to think my music. I like to think of my music as being lots of things that are crossed out: post rock, prog, first wave acoustic ska, dark indie pop, synth bass, core wave, soft metal, bad, beach musica. And then we got what do you think of this? So before we had this sort of checklist for Gertrude, and here we have like a track. So what do you think of this? When this track fills up, my inspiration is flowing. Show someone the song I've been working on. If it gets the reaction I want, replace this journey with legend in the making. If it doesn't, or I get too nervous to share it, erase the track and start from scratch. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But yeah, so you can see it's almost very very loose about what it is, and each character, a bit like, I know I keep talking about Die There role-playing game, but each character has their own little goals and aspirations and stuff, and so it kind of doesn't matter that you're not, each of you are doing your own individual thing. So maybe as the concierge you might need to be a little bit aware of that perhaps, and just be, be like, oh, ask me, you've got Sphere sheet, just tell me about it, and then work with them directly on that. Let's look at Hey Kid as well before we move on to the other one. So Hey Kid is a devil child with a lot of energy and not a lot of sense. They use they them pronouns. Pick me up if you want to get up to mischief. The big kids are going. The grown-up world is too frustrating. And then we've got bingos and whoopsies. Hey kids, bingos include apply a lesson someone else has taught me. Notice something everyone else has missed. Excitedly run somewhere and then get there really fast. Whoopsies. Mistrust a grown-up who's trying to help. Interrupt someone to show something that I think is really cool. Have an enormous explosive meltdown. Facts about me. I don't have any facts about me just yet. Maybe I'll get some when I grow older. I'm working on a comic. I like to draw more panels when I'm bored. And then we've got increase the stat on my radar like there are 5 tracks. Every time my mature track masks out, turn to Hey Teen section if you can find it. Oh, so that's when you grow up. So increase the stats, like they are 5 tracks. So you take, you move it out almost like a stat chart, right? How cool. So there you go. That is an example. I'm going to leave the rest because it's all slightly different. But there you go. Some exciting, interesting ones there. And here's some of the guests that you get with the Ash Can as well. So we've got Grackle McFran, a curmudgeonly goblinoid crow in the garden's toolshed who uses any pronouns. Muckleby, a huge glob of grime that uses she/her pronouns. Monday, a dream fairy merchant who uses they/them pronouns. The rabbits in the garden who wear little outfits. It's a warren of sentient bunnies who uses a variety of pronouns. Rag and Bones, a particularly unpleasant skeleton who uses he/him pronouns. And then Yolanda Olander, sorry. A very old spirit shrub uses she/her pronouns. And yeah, obviously you can unlock more of those folks as well. I was going to say something and I've completely forgotten what it was. I don't think it matters too much, but yeah. So this is just an example. But they also have character sheets as well. So if you, say you're playing in a chapter and stuff, and this would be a perfect point to have a guest come along. You can take one look at these 6 guests and have a look at their character sheet. Let's look at Grackle McFran. So as we said, a curmudgeonly goblinoid crow in the garden's toolshed who uses any programs. Pick me if everyone's out of the woods, some adult supervision is required, another employee at the bed and breakfast is needed. Some bingos include putting aside my gruff mask and being kind to someone. Whoopsies include grumble and groan. 3 fun facts about me. Yes, I'm a goblin who looks like a crow. I can't fly. Jokes about me being a bird are maybe the least funny thing on the planet. I was hired by the bed and breakfast to be the groundkeeper, but I refused to do my job. Instead, I just live in the tool shed and eat fertilizer. And my journey, so once my track fills up, I erase it and give everyone a piece of advice, good or bad. So this is the thing I find interesting is that there's no what's the word, requirements per se. Like obviously with the guest ones there, I can just see there you tick things off something like that's related to stuff, but the guest ones they don't necessarily have. If I look through the other one, basically it would just be like, oh, we've got some extra chaos coins or those tokens and those ominous cards left over, and we can split them between the guests as well. And then once they fill up, then the requirement has been met, and then the consequence happens. So here it says for Grackle McFran, once my track fills up, I erase it all and gives everyone a piece of advice, good or bad. Fantastic. So yeah, we'll move on from the guests. Although I love the rabbits in the garden who wear little outfits. I think they're super cute. They're great fun to play as well. Ooh, look at that for Rag and Bones. There's a big track there. Tell you what, let's look at Rag and Bones because they are said to be the villain, aren't they? So that's how I see. Pick me if things are too idyllic. Something scarier than me is afoot. Yazeba's distracted and careless. Bingos include lurk and watch from the hiding spot. Cap off a conversation with a sinister laugh. Be helpful for real by accident is one of the whoopsies. Reveal my entire plan. Whoopsies. Oh, you could probably be what's he called? There's San, and then the other one that's from Undertale, the 2 skeletons in that. You could definitely be Papyrus, right? That's their name. So you could probably be San and Papyrus in this aspect. Spooky, scary skeletons, yeah. So the journey. So once my track fills up, I steal Yazeba's spellbook, cast the apocalypse incantation, and bring about the end of the world itself. Whenever anyone wants to, at any time, they can clear my entire track and force me to start over from the beginning. Oh, I love that. That's really fun. I've got so many tracks. So how many have we got? What? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So 33 boxes to check off. That's fun though. I also like with these tracks that maybe every time you tick one off, you would have a quick story moment or a quick roleplay moment where you would narrate a short scene with your characters about how, you know, what it means that they've got a ticked off box there. And there's a big one for Yola, sorry. And here's the example of some of the chapters we've got in this ash can. So we've got another rainy day in which Hey Kid is very bored and while stuck inside, and Gertrude, along with the rest of the bed and breakfast, is trying to keep the child from exploding. Chapter 10 is Wash Day, in which the laundry room has become a disaster and Sal must lead the charge to fix it with Gertrude's reluctant help. Chapter 8 is Firefly Catching, in which Sal and Hey Kid talk about getting older whilst catching fireflies. Chapter 9 is Sal has written a play, in which the bed and breakfast puts on a theatrical production in the living room. Chapter 13, Hey Kid goes a-guising, in which Gertrude takes Hey Kid trick-or-treating, but some monsters are more than just costumes. Great little lines of description here, aren't they? Chapter 1, A Birthday for Gertrude. So this is the one we'll probably look at because it is one that's featured quite heavily as an example, like an introduction to this game. In which the bed and breakfast plans a surprise party for Gertrude, who has always hated her birthday. Chapter 6, Lights Out, in which Parrish leads an expedition into the basement to get the power back on. And in Chapter 20, Ice Skating, in which the bed and breakfast goes ice skating, and Amelia and Parrish reflect on their relationships to their bodies. Interesting. And there you go, it goes straight into it. So let's have a look. So each page, each sort of chapter here in this book is about 2 pages total. You see there's a sort of chapter heading, a little bit of information. That's the sort of prologue that the concierge will read out with the help of the players, what the mood of the chapter is, and then and then some of the additional rules per se. I just want to check a little bit if I go a little bit further ahead. I'm going to skip past a few of these chapters because I want to see if it talks about the rules. So yeah, we'll read out A Birthday for Gertrude in a second, so we'll come back to that. So that was page 44. Good to know. Get the light back on. Here we go. Shelves. So these are the shelves, for example. And the locked some locked materials. So even in the ash can, something you could unlock, for example, Mr. Bog. So these are some extra guests and some extra chapters as well. So you get, oh wow, you get loads of chapters with this. There's a little log item there too. Maybe I've got this wrong. Maybe it doesn't have this in the ash can. It doesn't tell you exactly what the rules are, which is a bit of like it doesn't give you like an example of what it is. Okay, I'll just quickly look ahead. If not, what we'll do... Oh, want to know more? That's fine. So what we'll do a chapter each then, because I want to show the different rules. I think those are important. So we'll look it up. So let's do chapter 1, A Birthday for Gertrude. So, who do we need in this chapter? We need Gertrude and anyone feeling celebratory, in which the bed and breakfast plans a surprise party for Gertrude, who's always hated her birthday. It was a beautiful October morning. It was a beautiful autumn morning outside the bed and breakfast. Gertrude had the window cracked open to breathe in the crisp air, the last before it gets too cold for open windows, and it was reading her favourite book. It was called Heart Sword and was the only book she brought with her to the bed and breakfast. It's a schlocky fantasy adventure about a princess forced to disguise herself as a man in order to defeat an evil emperor. If you ask Gertrude, she would dismiss it as trashy garbage, but the dog-eared yellowed pages suggest otherwise. Parrish was perched on one of the massive armchairs, lazily glancing through the astrology section of the newspaper. "Hey Gertrude, what sign are you?" "Oh, I'm a Virgo. My birthday's the 15th. Gertrude was barely paying attention, her nose deep in her book. Virgo, August 23rd to September 22nd. It can be difficult and nerve-wracking to navigate unfamiliar environments. Sometimes the world is big and scary and you just need a change. Don't be afraid. There are people who care for you wherever you go, and a family's love is never far from your heart. I believe in you." He stared down at the paper before spotting the date in the corner, September 15th. As always, of course, but Parrish looked up and made sudden eye contact with Sal before pulling the porter into the hall. Sal, it's the 15th. Sal shrugged. Paris is always the 15th. What's the big deal? We forgot Gertrude's birthday. And there we go. Oh, I see nighttime has come on to my screen. Thank you. So there you go. So this chapter is a frantic mood chapter, and this uses chaos coins where everyone can reach them. So either basically you don't need a particular number of chaos coins per se, but just have them in the center of you, and or if you're playing online, just keep a tally of how many you got. So whenever someone wants to take a track, they're going to consult their chaos coins. If they don't have any chaos coins, they succeed right away and take a chaos coin. Easy enough. If they do have chaos coins, flip all of them at once, and if all the coins come up heads, they succeed. So there's like a 50 chance on certainly one, and then it gets more and more unlikely, right? Otherwise, they don't take a track and must do a whoopsie about it. Either way, they must take chaos coins. And then finally, they can cash in 5 chaos coins to take a track right away. Dead easy, straightforward. When any of us does a bingo, they may give away all their chaos coins to someone else, making the whole mess their problem. That person should not then turn around and return the coins to it with a new bingo. No tag backs. When the chapter starts, everyone but Gertrude, and this is why I love this chapter, everyone but Gertrude conspires together to decide where in the bed and breakfast the party is going to happen from the list below. You write it down on a scrap of paper and then hide the scrap of paper. So some examples could be the basement, the deluxe bathroom, the garden, the kitchen, etc. Everyone who's not Gertrude gets a blank scrap of paper at the start of the chapter. Whenever they figure out what they think Gertrude would want, they would write down on their cards secretly and put it face down on the table. Then they would draw a 3-part track on the other side of the card. Once the track is full of stuff, they have successfully required the gift. At the end of the chapter, for all good or ill, everyone who's managed to acquire the gift for Gertrude flips over their cards and tells Gertrude what they got her. If Gertrude generally likes the gift, both she and the caregiver can take a track and pin the gift to Gertrude's character sheet. If she doesn't like it, well, it's up to her to be civil about it. And remember, these gifts are surprises. Don't reveal to the player playing Gertrude what the gifts are going to be. Yeah, it's quite cute that way as well. Party fouls, so this is some more additional things to think about this this thing. So some additional whoopsies that anyone but Gertrude can do. Panic about whether Gertrude has already got the gift you've got forgiven. Second guess yourself and come up with a way worse idea for a gift. Get cake batter all over your party clothes, etc. Start the party when the cake is done. So this is the timeline for the parties that you all have to get together to create the cake as well as get a gift as well. Start the party when the cake is done. No more chaos coins can be flicked or conflicts solved, and Gertrude decides when the chapter ends. The bed and breakfast gets a slice of cake, that's a sticker. Hold on to any left off chaos coins for housekeeping. And then for Gertrude, a special one, so you're all being very suspicious. Gertrude has always hated her birthday. If she knew what everyone was planning, she'd be so mad. When Gertrude wants someone to listen to her long enough to ask her a question, consult her chaos coins. If she succeeds, they have to answer. She shouldn't mention her birthday, y'all don't want to know about. Y'all don't want to know, and don't want anyone to know. Every time someone lies to her, Gertrude can tick this track. When the track fills up, she makes a guess at where the party's being prepared. Oh, so you've only got 5. She's only got 5 chances, right? If she guesses right, she uncovers this hideous plot and can choose whether to stop the festivities or cancel the party, or pitch in to help her misguided friends finish the cake. If the chapter ends without the party, the bed and breakfast gets this very sad little paper crown. Hold on to any leftover chaos coins for housekeeping. And that's it. That's the chapter in free pages. And there's so much to deal with it, so much to play with it there, right? And it's a very simple mechanic, that chaos coins for this chapter, and I absolutely love it. That's the idea of like flicking, heads you succeed, tails you don't, and then you get more coins, and then you get a certain number of coins, and then you can cash them in. So that's a frantic mood one. Let's see if we can find a different one. Oh, so this one I think is an eerie mood one. So chapter 13, Hey Kid goes a-guising. With Hey Kid, Gertrude and anyone else in need of a treat or a trick. in which Gertrude takes Hey Kid trick-or-treating, but some monsters are more than just costumes. Gertrude stared at Hey Kid's pumpkin bucket, puzzled. It's Halloween. Isn't it always September? But nobody answered her question. It's Halloween! It's Halloween! Hey Kid was practically jumping off the walls, grinning and screaming. I gotta go trick-or-treating! I gotta! Sal buried his head in his notebook. Well, I'm not taking you alone. Last time I chaperoned you on Halloween, we nearly got mauled by werewolves. Not happening again. Parrish nodded in agreement. Hey Kid tried to mount an effective counter-argument, but ended up just standing there, profoundly crestfallen. Gertrude looked around at the two guys and closed her journal. Hey, I can keep an eye on you. It might be nice to get out of this bed and breakfast for a little bit, after all. Hey Kid's face exploded with excitement, and in just moments, Gertrude found herself walking through the leaves on an unfamiliar road with Hey Kid in full costume. Across the street were a couple of kids dressed as zombies, screaming and carrying rolls of toilet paper. When one of them turned to her with no lower jaw and one eye hanging loose, Gertrude abruptly realised that she had perhaps stumbled onto something that she wasn't quite prepared for. So this chapter is an eerie mood chapter. Before the chapter begins, we shuffle a deck of cards and put it somewhere everyone can reach them. When any of us does a bingo or whoopsie, they will flip the cards from the top of the deck until they reveal an omen card, so a jack, queen, king or ace. Then consult the rest of the chapter to find out what happens. Before the chapter begins, though, everyone decides on if they're more of a goblin or a guard. Goblins are here for candy and for the fun. Guards are here to chaperone the goblins and keep goblins from realising that perhaps the other trick-or-treaters are more dangerous than they seem. Additionally, everyone chooses a costume from the list or invents their own. Cute. Oh, let's see. A ghost literally just in a bedsheet. Or a princess in a flowing pink dress and a hennin. A superhero with a red bedsheet and underwear outside your pants. Yourself. The cruelest Halloween outfit of all is going as yourself. Goblins get these additional bingos, so look really endearing in your costume, hold up your basket and say pretty please, and these additional whoopsies scream very loudly and cause a ruckus. Additionally, goblins are the only characters allowed to interact with the eerie deck. Oh no! Okay, whenever they interact with the deck, they must first say trick or treat. Whenever a goblin flips over a card, they hold on to all non-omen cards they get. And at the end of the chapter, they turn each omen card into a piece of candy based on the list below. That is absolutely adorable. Whenever a goblin flips over an omen card, however, tricks. Each magic card represents a very bad, ominous thing that the guards have noticed that the goblins haven't yet. Whenever that omen is revealed, the goblin who revealed it reads the description. The guards must prevent that card by shining stars and doing whoopsies until the goblin who flipped it feels the threat has been gotten rid of without the goblins noticing. The guard who did their best in getting rid of the threat gets the card by doing bingos or whoopsies appropriately. So let's have a read. Let's say Queen of Diamonds. One of the candies in my bag is secretly dangerous. How do you safely sneak it away? Oh, cute. That's so cute. Ace of Diamonds. I misplaced an essential part of my costume and I'm distraught. What do you do to help me feel better? So King of Hearts. When the door opens up, an obnoxiously wealthy family inside completely snubs me. They're clearly looking down on my costume. How do you help me get revenge? Ace of Clubs, let's have a look at this one. In the distance we can see an enormous striding skeletal figure moving through the clouds. Its single eye represents the moon and it seems to be looking for something. How do you keep its spotlight from shining on us? King of Spades. I haven't noticed a ghostly individual that's been following us for the last few houses. How do you get rid of the ghost without me noticing? Once all four aces have shown up, then the guards realise it's curfew and everyone has to go home. Hey Kid decides when the chapter ends and everyone compares their loot. And the B&B gets a jack-o'-lantern. Hold on to any leftover ominous cards along with any 8, 9s and 10s for housekeeping. And there you go. So that's an example of using the ominous cards. So you're using a deck to indicate what the game scene is. That's quite cool. That's such a fun little way of doing it. So I must say, I think there's about 99 chapters in total in the full version. And so I wonder if each of these, the mechanic of using dice, using cards, using coins, using tokens, using appendix cards, I wonder if it changes depending, is it how connected it is to that chapter. Obviously, I know it's connected to the mood, but is it always like the omen card? It's always going to be those face cards, for example, and then what do you do with those number cards, for example? Anyway, so that was frantic mood. We've got eerie mood. Let's look at relaxed mood. Okay, yes. Oh, chapter 9. Sol has written a play. Oh, hello, Dead Toothbrush. What are you doing, man? You're spamming Nightbots on you. Oh dear, but I appreciate it. How are you doing, my friend? Hope all is well with you. I'm surprised you're not streaming. Alright, chapter 9. Sol has written... Stupid bot. It's just really on it. It knows you too well, Dan. It knows you too well. So, chapter 9. Sol has written a play. With Sol and anyone theatrical, in which the bed and breakfast puts on a theatrical production in the living room. It is damp in the bed and breakfast, the sort of damp that soaks through the wood of the old walls and drenches everything it can find. Sol was scribbling away inside his spiral notebook as the ink bled through the pages, which is a difficult way to write. He chewed on the end of his pen. Useless, useless, he muttered to himself, ripping out a chunk from the waterlogged notebook and throwing it in the direction of the waste bin. 2-bit no good hack loser can't write. Hey Sal, what are you working on? Oh sorry, I thought it was going to be Parrish. It's not, it's Gertrude. Gertrude poked her head out of the dining room, fork sticking out of her mouth. Oh, he started, shoving the notebook out of sight beneath the desk. It's actually, well, I've been working on a play. Really? What's your play about? It was at that moment that it felt to Sol like the whole bed and breakfast had overheard. A play? Parrish called from the other room. Sol, why don't you tell me you're writing a play? Play, 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 play! Hagrid screeched. Can I be in it? Can I be in it? Sol stammered. I guess it's almost done, although it's a rough draft. Modesty doesn't suit you, old friend. Parrish wiped his hands off his apron before picking up one of the many crumpled pieces of paper on the floor. I think it's marvellous. Sal blushed. He'd never written a play before. It takes time to prep the whole show, but I guess we could start planning. Gertrude grinned underneath her mask. No one has anything to do. No one has anything to do whilst the weather is so miserable. We could turn the couch room into a stage and everything. Let's do this. Nah, not feeling up to it, and now I feel guilty. Oh no, Dan, don't feel guilty. It's alright, if you're not feeling up to it, you're not feeling up to it. That's okay. So this is a relaxed mood. This is a so this is compared to the frantic and the eerie mood. So this is, we put a huge pile of tokens where everyone can reach them. And during the chapter, when anyone does a whoopsie, they take a token, and before anyone does a bingo, they must return the token to the table. So yeah, so using that sort of economy of tokens, it's very familiar with anyone who's done any belonging outside belonging games. So the playbill. Before we begin, Sal casts everyone in the play, giving each person one of the roles below. They will be extras. So we've got Don Michael, the fearsome lord, here to arrest someone. Captain Redtooth, the infamous pirate captain and in love. Lisby, a princess in exile disguised as a man and in love. Babelin, a beloved child. Yazeba, the ancient witch who once laid a curse on someone. Roll credits. Bumbelina, a queen of the shadow fairies. A terrible dragon. Newt, a beleaguered, struggling and stunningly handsome playwright who is underappreciated in his time. And then of course, a tree. The play follows a 2-act structure, with an intermission in the middle. The plot and structure of the play will be all invented by all of us as we play, but genuinely it can be assumed they include both dizzying successes and heart-wrenching failures, moments of comedy and tragedy alike, and for it to all be wrapped up with a happy ending. The anxious playwright. So in this chapter, Sol can do the following whootsies. So speak ill of your own writing, edit someone's script right before they go on stage, interrupt the play with a quick correction, be ungrateful to the cast and crew. Additionally, it is Sol's call when to start and stop the intermission, and only he can decide when the play is over and the chapter ends. It's actually quite good. Everyone has access to these additional bingos. Whenever someone does one of these bingos for the first time, check off the associated checkbox. Deliver an absurd pun. Deliver a line that makes someone laugh. That's going to be me all over the place. I'm just going to be laughing at everyone's great acting. Deliver a surprisingly heart-wrenching soliloquy. Typically, I can say that word, but I can't say any of the other words that we've dealt with today. Describing a daring and gripping sword fight with another character. Cover up a problem with flawless improvisation. If the play concludes and all checkboxes have been checked off, then it was a roaring success. The bed and breakfast gets a dandelion bouquet, and Sal can submit his play to the local theatrical organisation. Hold any leftovers tokens for housekeeping. But a little bit of disaster too. Oh no, some additional whoopsies for people. So whenever someone does one of these whoopsies for the first time, check off the associated list. Forget your lines, improvise the exact wrong line, get stage fright, miss your big entrance, a costume rips, there's an argument, offstage argument, someone slips and gets hurt. If all these checkboxes are checked off, Sal is mortified and cancels the whole thing mid-act. Oh no! The bed and breakfast gets a torn up script sticker and will never speak of the performance again. Throw any leftover tokens in the trash. Oh no! Oh, how cute though. Oh, that's so funny. So yeah, so that's an example of a relaxed mood. Although it feels very frantic and very tense, I will be honest. Alright, let's see what the last one is. Pensive mood. Okay, so pensive one, this is to do with the appendix cards, I think. So, Chapter 8, Firefly Catching, with Sal, Hey Kid, and anyone optimistic, in which Sal and Hey Kid talk about getting older whilst catching fireflies. It was a cool night in that warm summer way. The sky was crowded with brilliant stars, perfectly mirroring the fireflies flicking amongst the trees. Sal was sitting in one of the chairs on the back porch looking out at the woods that surround the bed and breakfast. His guitar was heavy in his hands and he could feel a song burning through his fingertips. And then, presumably, as a text, someday I'll see the contrails for what they are. I've named every light but one. I just want to trace that line and know. He sighed. The song in his head was louder than the chords he could play and none of the words fit. Sal probably could have stayed out on that porch forever until the screen door creaked open and Hey Kid wandered over. Hey Sal, is everything okay? Hey Kid held up a plate of spaghetti. Parrish wanted me to bring you some dinner since you missed it and all. Sal shrugged. Thanks, kid. A lot of stuff on my mind sometimes. I must have been distracted. Hey Kid hopped up into another wicker chair and looked up at Sal. In the light of the lonely bulb hanging over the porch, Sal looked older than he is, and sadder too. Hey Kid glanced out at the dark woods and the crisp air and the stars. They took a deep breath and tapped on Sal's guitar. Hey Sal, wanna go firefly catching? Alright, so this is a pensive mood chapter. Before this chapter starts, we'll read it through and select some questions to write down on index cards, then place a number of tokens on each of those questions. These questions need to be picked away at. Whenever one of us does a bingo or whoopsie, they'll collect a token from one of these questions, keeping it if they did a bingo, or giving it to someone else who can learn from their mistake if they did a whoopsie. Okay, so the act of catching fireflies. It is a warm night, the sort of night that reminds us what it's like to be alive. Oh, deep. Everyone has the following additional bingos. Describe how you catch a firefly. Tell a short story of how you've changed. And then the following additional whoopsie, tell someone who they should be. Sal has been thinking a lot about whether the choices he has made brought him to where he should be right now. Even if he's not going to say it to Hey Kid directly, it's something big and important on his mind. Sal should choose one of the questions below or invent his own. Okay, that's quite cool as well, so you don't have to be stuck to this script, so to speak. Would I have become famous if I chose a different route? What is my purpose in life? Can I find my passion again? Oh, just having a bit of a sad day, or sad week. Don't worry about it, Sal. The question starts with 9 tokens on it. Once all the tokens have been removed, we'll each go around and try and answer the question for ourselves as best we can. We can choose whether or not to end the chapter and read A Night Like Tonight below. Growing up. Hey Kid is starting to realise they aren't going to be able to be a kid forever. They realise that the world is changing rapidly. Even while their home feels perfect, that the outside world is dangerous, and perhaps everyone they love aren't heroes. Oh. Hey Kid chooses one of the questions below or invents their own. What's it going to be? What is it going to be like to grow up? Oh, it's not all that made up to be. Don't worry. Does being a grown-up means losing your passion for life? Are my friends as good as they seem in my head? The question starts with 9 tokens on it. Once all the tokens have been removed, we'll each go around and try to answer the question for ourselves as best we can. We can choose whether or not to end the chapter and read A Night Like Tonight below. So then the final thing, A Night Like Tonight. Before the chapter begins, write down the following question on another index card. What does it mean to change? Anyone may put one of their tokens on this question whenever they want. We're probably not going to fully answer this question during this chapter. Instead, when the chapter ends, everyone will go around and give much of an answer as they can, based on how many tokens the question has. So if it's got less than 5 tokens, shrug and maybe say something you think it could be, but probably is wrong. 5 to 8, you give one word answer if you have one. 9 to 10, give a 1 sentence answer if you have one, and then you get a jar of fireflies for the bed and breakfast. 13 or more tokens, give a full answer if you have one. Write both the question and your answer on an index card and keep it with your character sheet. The bed and breakfast gets a jar of fireflies, and you hold onto any unused tokens for housekeeping. So there are lots of different endings there. That's very interesting. So in total you have 18 tokens to go round, which you can get. Where can you get it? When you get the question, right? Whenever any of us does a bingo or a whoopsie, collect a token from the questions, keeping it as a bingo or giving it to someone else. Okay, cool. So that's an interesting mechanic, giving a taking of tokens. But yeah, if there's only 2 of you, because it's obviously Hey Sally Kid and anyone optimistic, so you could really split it up with lots of little characters as well. So that's interesting. That's an interesting pensive one, like for thinking about. But there you go. Those are the 4 sort of different sort of like, I don't want to say mechanics because I assume they change depending on the chapter, but there's the 4 sort of different ways of looking at it. The pensive move, which is a bit more reflective, using index cards. We have the frantic move, which is using chaos coins and flipping them to fill up tracks. Excuse me. We have the omened cards, so you use a deck of cards, and you depending on what you draw, that will influence the story. And then you've got tokens, which is the that was eerie, wasn't it? The relaxed one is using the pile of tokens in the middle, where you can take a token to do sort of a weaker move, and then a stronger move you spend the token giving it back to the pool. And that's it. That is all there is for Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, certainly for the Ashcan edition. Obviously I know we've not gone through all of it, but those are like 4 chapters of sort of tasting of the different kinds of moods, and then there's some additional ones that you could unlock as well. So actually this Ashcan, for 73 pages of content, you get a lot for it. You can definitely, I think you could play all those chapters, keep it going, maybe have a couple of sessions before diving into getting the full book as well. I think the only thing I would say is that I assume this has it in the core book, but actually saying what the different moods were in the document at the top, a way out of things, because that's why I was confused at first. I was like, oh, did they not tell you what the mechanics are outside of the chapters? And they don't in the Ashcan, and that's fair enough. Like, 'cause again, the mechanics are different, but you could say about the different moods and how they're affected, and likely what they need for it. I think they say it like 1 line or 2, but I think you need to make it really, really obvious, or write them up a little bit more, and be like, hey, what you will need to play frantic things, and what kind of things you will be expected to do. But I love the idea of the character sheets as well, making it a little bit more esoteric, I guess, and a little bit sort of like, it's all sort of varied, and it's up to the player's interpretation, which can be a little bit scary if you're playing this for the first time or playing any role-playing games for the first time. So I think as the concierge, as the game facilitator, you're going to have to really think about how you're going to introduce people to the game and not worry about it. You might do a lot of hand-holding when you're setting up one of the scenes. I do think that Birthday for Gertrude, A Party for Gertrude, or whatever it was, that first chapter is a really good chapter to sort of introduce people to, and that is obviously the first chapter in a lot of it, although you don't have to play them in the same order. So there you go. Thank you everyone for staying with me. That was quite a short one by our standards, only about an hour and a bit, but I very much appreciate it. Let's go back to Big Fiona Cam. So yeah, I can highly recommend checking out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. Like I said, they've got both the digital version, where you can get the RPG through the one one more multiverse platform. It comes with that digital platform, so you have to unlock that, and then you get the PDF to hand around with other folks, which I think can be a bit tricky. Maybe you don't want to play with that platform. I seem to remember I was struggling to be like, I don't have the PDF, and I realised, oh, you need to unlock the platform and then get it out. So probably another reason why I couldn't show you the full book, which is 500 pages long as well. Yeah, there's a lot of content there. It is meant to be playing over many episodes, many sort of series, and I can absolutely see having it as a ongoing campaign, ongoing series with lots of people guesting in, lots of people dropping in and out. You don't have to have a core member of core members of cast. But it would be quite nice to have an ongoing concierge, perhaps. But then again, as long as you make the good notes to pass over things, it's fine. And I think with the digital platform, having that legacy element, it almost feels like a video game, even with that DLC as well. And it's very beautiful on top of that. But at the same time, the other, on the other hand, I can imagine it taking a little while to get used to it. Like, I'm really bad at VTT stuff and learning how it works. So if that's the same for you, the player, the concierge, it might be the same for your players as well. So having that session 0 with the lines and veils, but also maybe having a tech session if you're planning on using the platform as well. So yeah, check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. I'd highly recommend checking out all the other Possum Creek games as well. There's loads of them out there. Like I said, I'm a massive fan of Sleepaway. We've played that on Where with merely role players and made me cry. Every time I think about it, it always makes me cry because it was such a good emotional one. Wonder Home, it has a similar vibe to it as well. This idea of going on a journey with cute animal adventurers, so yeah, check that out as well. And there's loads of other games that they've got coming up. I just keep abreast of what they're up to, really. I think they're really cool. I think they're cool, guys. But yes, the physical copy should be out, I am going to assume this year, maybe beginning of next year, depending on how pre-orders go. So do feel free to go grab a copy now. And certainly the digital version is out right now. If you're interested in the stuff I do here, I know I've done a lot today, but because I am super boring and don't have any plans on bank holiday weekends, we have some other RPG streams coming up, but I run What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast where we do lots of different RPG systems and explore them through actual play stuff, which is very cool. Yeah, we did Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast a couple of episodes ago. I think it came out last year before? I can't remember. My time is a weird soup, right? So do check that out there. I highly recommend checking out Jeffney Stormer's promotional Yazeba Bed and Breakfast. They're on the Possum Creek Games YouTube for sure, so have a check those out. One of them's got Brendan Lee Milligan in it, which is pretty cool. And Matthew Mercer's also in one of them as well. And it just gives you a sample of what to expect when you're doing a one-shot of Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast. If you want to check out anything else, we've got our Discord as well. Check out the Discord for Where and What Am I Rolling, where we'll talk about some RPG stuff, fun stuff, all the good stuff in that one. We've also got events and stuff as well, so just come and say hello. We'd love to have you here. We'd love to chat to you about RPGs, because as I always say, there's not one RPG for one, there's not one RPG that fits everyone. I will be back tomorrow. Because if you couldn't get enough of me, I'll be out tomorrow. We're going to look at One Breath Left. I'm just having a quick check at it now. One Breath Left. Let me open the thing. It is a solo journaling game, sci-fi horror. It can be played into 1 to 2 hour sessions. You are an explorer tasked with determining what happened aboard a now abandoned spaceship. You document what you find whilst trying to avoid a perilous end. Spooky. So that's one we're going to do tomorrow, which will be good. It's at 5 p.m. tomorrow. I better be rushing back from work. I think I'm supposed to be in work tomorrow. Okay, well, with all that out of the way, thank you so much. I hope you had a good evening. I hope you had a really good bank holiday. If you joined me for these streams, I really appreciate it. I'm glad other people didn't have anything else to do on their bank holiday. But yeah, much love. Do try out these games. I'm going to put links everywhere and you can check out. And yeah, check out some of the other streams we've done as well. Too long didn't read tabletop. Anyway, much love. Have a good evening. And I'm going to wave awkwardly as I find the end of stream button.